Streetlights have become a familiar sight in all places where we live. Actually, we can't even imagine our world anymore without them. We also really want these streetlights because we're absolutely convinced that they reduce the number of traffic accidents and that they also reduce crime. But is that really so? It is my intention with this small documentary to show you the effect that artificial light has on our safety. Then it'll be up to you to draw your own conclusions. Artificial light doesn't have the same effect as sunlight at all. We think that we're quite visible, but in reality that's certainly not the case. Look at this square, which is illuminated like a football stadium with last generation LED lamps. Can you see that group of people over there? They're even standing in the middle of the road because they're convinced that they're just as visible as during daytime. In reality, however, they're just shadows which could easily slip the attention of a car driver. Here's a very illuminated street, also with brand new LED lights. But can you see the cyclist? Oops, another cyclist. In general, people take more risks when a street is illuminated because they believe to be clearly visible. They cross a street without worries, don't wear reflective jackets, and behave as if it were daytime. Also, drivers take more risks. They're convinced that they can see everything clearly. They feel too much at ease, pay less attention, and tend to increase speed compared to when they're driving in a non-illuminated street. But even if all pedestrians wore reflective jackets, the result wouldn't change much. Look at that lady. According to you, is she clearly visible in this brightly illuminated street, even with her reflective jacket? Here's the same lady with a reflective jacket, but in total darkness, at a distance of 150 yards from the car. The dark background makes her jacket really stand out, and this time, yes, you can see her clearly. A pedestrian in total darkness is aware of being invisible for car drivers and automatically stands aside when a car approaches. Even though this may sound strange, the result is that the number of traffic incidents diminishes in non-illuminated streets. You've seen a car arriving from the left, haven't you? But only at the very last moment when the car had already arrived at the crossroads. Here's a crossing in total darkness and an approaching car still 50 yards away. As you can see, non-illuminated crossroads are safer than illuminated ones. And let's go back a moment. Have you seen that man there against the building? Probably not. Now let's talk about criminals. When these apartment blocks were built 8 years ago, this street still didn't have a single light. Afterwards, when the new owners came to live here, they literally bombarded the local authorities to install illumination urgently, which the commune immediately did. The irony is, however, that after the commune had installed all of these lights, nearly every single one of these apartments has been visited by burglars, some of them even twice. Therefore, stating that the installation of public lighting here has increased safety would be most erroneous indeed. Streetlights don't make criminals more visible. On the contrary, this may sound strange again, but the lights hide them. They're even grateful for all of these lights because they give them enough light to operate, but also enough shadows to hide, and they can move about without drawing the attention in the least. Do you see that balcony over there? The owner has even turned on a big light to protect himself against burglars. But have you seen the burglar entering through the window? I'll show it to you once more. The burglar is completely invisible against the dark background of the window. Yet, he has more than enough light to work and force the window to open. Now, let's put our so-called burglar against the bright background of the balcony wall. Yes, of course, now he's obvious. But would he actually draw someone's attention? There is in fact a huge difference between can see and draw the attention. And even if someone noticed him, he could just as well think that it's the owner himself standing on his balcony. Now you see exactly the same balcony, but with all the lights turned off. In this case, our burglar hasn't got any other choice than to use a torch. Otherwise, he wouldn't see a thing. This would definitely draw someone's attention. Criminals don't like houses immersed in darkness because it compels them to use a torch, which makes them clearly visible and vulnerable. Also, automatic anti-burglary lights have a much greater effect in a total dark, because that way they can truly blind a burglar who had fully adapted to darkness for minutes. This light would also draw the attention from miles away, whereas in an already illuminated street, it wouldn't. As I've just demonstrated, streetlights don't have any positive effect at all on our safety. Much on the contrary, I would say. And I'm not alone with that opinion. Coincidentally, this year, the London University has published a highly detailed study conducted over a period of no less than 14 years, which actually confirms that lights do not protect us against accidents or crime. A survey of 520 people, on the other hand, which was part of this study, explains the only reason why 99% of the population doesn't want to turn the lights off. Because we feel safer with the lights on. Even after 3 million years of evolution, man remains an animal that's afraid of the predators which may lurk in the dark of the night. Until we finally overcome this completely superfluous instinct, we'll continue with this enormous waste of money and energy. People don't have the slightest idea how big this waste actually is. Let's take the example of Montecchio Emilia, a medium-sized Italian town of 10,000 inhabitants, which manages 1,900 light points on its territory. The annual budget of this commune is €360,000. Its consumption lies about 1.7 million kilowatt a year. Even though we have to mention that this particular commune has gone at great lengths to reduce its energy consumption, replacing all classical lights with LEDs, which bring the consumption down to only 628,000 kilowatt a year. Now, if we consider that an average family consumes about 3,000 kilowatt a year, the consumption of this commune for public lighting, even reduced, is equal to the consumption of 210 families. If we extrapolate this for the whole of Italy, the national consumption for public lighting would be more or less equal to the total energy consumption of 125,000 families and cost the various communes more than €200 million, without even counting the streets which are under the competence of the provinces, regions or state. If we really want to invest in safety, wouldn't it be better if we spent all of that money for the maintenance of the streets themselves, which are often in a terrible state? We must embrace the dark as something positive, something that protects us. If we're truly serious about saving our planet, we can no longer allow ourselves to continue with this incredible waste of energy and natural resources. I thank you for your attention.